to see you again.
And yes, welcome to our show. I guess today we're waiting on our guest who's on his way. He's like rushing down 59th Street as we speak.
We have a seat ready for him.
We have a seat ready for him. And we'll be talking about Interruption, a community of progressive folks who are working to help small business people with microloans in places like Argentina and
it's a whole
other
economic
countries,
theory, right?
really based on the idea of not shareholder,
but stakeholder.
Thank you very much, Joanie. Stakeholders. And stakeholders meaning that all the people who are affected in an economy, and you explained it so well. Why don't you explain it for us?
Well, I'm not that sure I understand it. That's why I'm hoping that Diego will get here and explain it to us. But from what I read, there's a difference between shareholder theory and stakeholder theory. And shareholder theory is based in profits for the shareholders. In other words, the people who have an interest in the business making money are the primary concern of the business.
I see.
Whereas stakeholder means that anyone who might be affected is considered. So say a business were going to move from one location to another, then the people that might be affected are the employees that would be left behind that wouldn't have a job anymore, the new community they're moving into, the new employees who might get a job there, the environment in the new area.
In other
so
words,
it seems
the social
to be
justice impact of a business. So I would imagine we have to ask Diego
I'm certainly
this.
not an expert in economics, as anyone who knows me
will
attest.
You're pretty good. You did pretty well, Joan. By the way, that's our number. It's 212-757-1538. And
call us
anytime.
anytime. The guest isn't even here yet. So.
Yeah, so you could be our guest.
You might know more about it than we do.
Right.
Which would be wonderful.
Right. But I think the idea is similar, or I'll have to ask Diego this, because I remember many years ago in the 1980s working with different groups that were bringing in coffee from certain markets in Central America.
Yeah, what do they call that? Free trade coffee? Or?
That's what they call it now. Back in our
day,
it
in the coffee
it was
shops.
Sandinista coffee.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was coffee with a taste of freedom, we called it.
Oh,
and it was
heavens.
provided by the Sandinista government in Nicaragua during that period. Organic coffee and Nicaraguan-grown coffee under conditions where we had some idea of the conditions that the workers were living under. We knew in Nicaragua at that time you were allowed to become part of a union and to organize, and as a matter of fact, the government at the time in Nicaragua helped folks get organized and form unions.
Is free trade coffee also organic coffee?
I don't think it. I think in the past it didn't have to be that, but now it is. I know that there's several coffee shops that that purchase this kind of coffee. It costs more. It's organic, but it's also grown in a way where we have some idea of the conditions that the workers are laboring under. And the coffee companies, Maxwell House, these different companies, remember the El Exciente figure, like the noble peasant farmer, and showing us his coffee bean, and we grow this for you in the north. Well, the reality of it is, when you travel in the south, go into a coffee shop. There's no coffee shops. Maybe there are now. It's been a while since I've been there. But
wait, where are you talking about?
Go south. Go south of the border, not the southern United States.
Oh, okay.
Mexico,
so Latin America.
Central America, Latin America, and you find that you expect to get this great cup of coffee, right? And instead, what you get
I don't drink coffee.
Is like Nescafe, you know,
like instant, you
right?
mean?
Instant coffee, and which tastes as terrible as it does there as it does here. And I would ask the folks, well, how come I come to Latin America expecting to get this great coffee? And they laugh and they said, do you think we get that good stuff? You get it all.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does
that, like baseball players.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Does that happen in Hawaii too, with Kona coffee?
I don't know. We would have to ask somebody from Hawaii who knows about
that.
I
thought you'd been to Hawaii.
I've been there, but I never asked that question.
Were you a coffee drinker in Hawaii?
I don't remember. I remember back then, it was a long time ago, I remember having kimchi for the first time. There's a large Korean population. And first time I ever had kimchi, which was the real spicy stuff.
Oh, look, we have a call. Oh, I'm so happy.
Oh, great. Well, let's see what we got. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Go ahead.
I have a question about you for the economy
Can you speak
in
a little
America.
louder? I'm sorry. Hello?
Yes, I'm going to talk about the economy that's going in America.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're creating a big deficit. How do you see that we're going to get out of this deficit when we're lowering taxes and nothing's coming in, but everything's going out?
Well, I have my own opinions on that. We're going to be doing shows, hopefully in the near future, about what I call the oil crisis that's developing, the peak oil crisis. Have you heard of the concept of peak oil?
Oh, yeah.
We're right now at a time when it seems we're using up the world's oil, so that the price of gasoline you see at the pump, the price of energy, the price of electricity, all the things we need to live that gives us all these wonderful things, is going to be skyrocketing. And interestingly enough, it's going to be shifting, allowing the euro, the European monetary system, the euro, to compete with the United States. And we'll see countries, possibly countries even in the Middle East, freeing themselves. Iran has already made a statement that it's going to do this, is to actually shift from the petrodollar, and that is, you know, this is a little background. I don't want to take too much time, but there was an oil crisis in the 1970s. And at the end of the 1970s, the United States made a deal with the oil-producing countries that we will allow you to control a tremendous amount of the world's wealth through your possession of oil resources if you denominate those resources in dollars, which gives the United States ultimate control. Now, the euro is competing with the dollar. And countries are saying, why do we have to do this in the dollar? Why don't we do it in the euro? And this is causing a tremendous amount of, that's the peak oil. I think that's at the heart of the peak oil.
All right, I got another question for you. We talk about oil. Well, back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had a oil increase under a certain president. When we had another president come in, the oil sort of leveled off at to $1.47 a barrel. Now, we're talking about, you know, when you go to the gas pump, it's almost $3 around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's causing an astronomical energy crisis.
Absolutely.
That same person who was in that, who's making that energy crisis happen, down in his state, he had a company that went out of business that was creating energy crises around the country. Enron said that in the mid-90s to late 90s, there's an oil crisis, energy crisis. We got to create energy plants. The state of California suffered because of that. Gray Davis, because he invested a lot into creating all these energy plants. New York almost did the same. Now you don't hear so much that we have an energy crisis in terms of we don't have any power, but the price of oil is out of hand.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to ask you a question too. What do you think the solution is?
The solution to the energy or the price of oil?
The crisis that we seem to be in, the mess that we're in today. I think it's the economic and political.
Well, what you were asking about
policy.
economic deficit.
I think it's the political climate. I don't believe there's an energy crisis because in the 90s, I would say, we had a great advancement in technology. A lot of buildings, especially in Manhattan, converted to large computers like Apple, IBM, Microsoft, and at every terminal there's a computer. A computer takes energy because you have to have a plant to create that electricity. So just about every working person uses a computer in an office.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So offices, buildings that used to have typewriters are now filled with computers, which requires data and electricity. If you notice, that revolution happened in the 90s. There wasn't an energy crisis. Now, all of a sudden, in new millennium, 2000, there's an energy crisis.
So
and the oil prices have gone through the door.
You think the oil companies are basically ripping us off?
I don't think they're just ripping us off. They're lying to us. They're saying things that aren't true.
They're putting
they
our
have
democracy
employees in office,
at risk.
so they can put any legislation they want unchecked. They can keep two sets
So what do
of
you
books
think
like
the
Enron
solution
did.
is?
Well, let me put it this way. What you're saying tells me that you think, or I would characterize it as saying that our democracy, the American way of life, for what it's worth, is at risk right now.
Say that again?
That the U.S., the American way of life, the American dream, is at risk to these private corporations.
I can't say the American way of life. I would say the Constitution,
Right.
but not the American way of life. Everybody's going to have
That's the
their cars,
problem.
their 2.4 kids,
Yeah.
their house. Everybody aspires to that.
Oh, this
But
is
when you
wonderful.
start
We have
talking
another
about
call
your
coming in,
rights,
too.
We have another
That's a
call
different
coming
story.
in. Caller, let's move on.
It's great to hear from you,
It was
and I
great
hope
to
you
hear
can
from you.
call again.
Yes, thank you very much. Very interesting. And again, whoa, we just lost that call. I'm sorry.
we did? Oh.
212-757-1538. Call right back. So,
Well, those are some interesting issues that the caller brought up.
well, we're living in dangerous times by anybody's definition. I think that.
Oh, here comes the call. They're
we
calling
go.
back. Great.
You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello. Go ahead. You're listening to Let Them Talk on Manhattan Neighborhood Networks. I'm Paul DeRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Moossy.
And we're taking your calls.
And you have to turn the volume down when you call.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello, you there? I think we lost him.
I guess so.
Sorry. We'll give another one a try.
Try again.
All right, try again, 212-757-1538. And we're taking your calls pretty much on anything you
Here
want
we
to talk.
go.
It's freedom
We're ready.
to talk. You're on.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Anybody there? We'll try the other one.
You're there. Hello.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing today?
Hi,
Good, how are
doing?
you?
Got
Yeah,
great.
I'm just scrolling by. What's your show about?
This is called Let 'Em Talk.
Uh-huh.
And we usually have a guest that we're waiting for right now, but he's caught in traffic. So, and the guest we're waiting for is an economist, and he has a company that espouses this theory, which is called
So you
stakeholder
basically
theory.
just talk about anything, huh?
Well, we'd love to talk about anything.
So, all right,
Pretty open.
give me your opinions on the stuff that's going on in the news with those Duke lacrosse players.
Oh, the guys in North
Why
Carolina.
don't you go first? We have a lot to say. Johnny, why don't you go first?
Well, oops, you left
If
one
you'd
of
like
them
to make
on.
a call,
The top
Okay.
one.
I
No,
can
you have to
try
push
again.
off. You know.
Okay, there you go. You still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All
Well,
right.
did you see the press conference that the third
Yeah, his
player gave? Yeah.
you know, from body language and everything, this guy looks like he's, you know, he's going to go all out and fight this, you know?
Well, it's certainly a terrible incident that no one really knows what happened. This is the problem. And it's not very clear-cut because there has been no match in DNA evidence, which is, of course, the bedrock of a rape case.
But I heard that prosecutor out there has some type of agenda, you know, because he's presented, you know, lie detector tests and this, and the prosecutor doesn't even want to hear nothing about it, you know. So there's something going on that's
Right, the kids
bigger.
have
It's
passed-
probably bigger than what it is.
Right. It seems to me like there's something going on that hasn't been told yet. It was more to whatever happened at that party that night than has been told in the media. And there's probably more to the records of these kids and more information than...
Well, and it's a shame for
Yeah, but
everyone.
as far as the
Yeah.
physical evidence, there's not really nothing there.
That's right.
You know, it's her word against, you know,
Right.
it's some funny stuff going on there.
And then, of course, the news came out that there's been a previous case where she reported a rape by 3 men
Mhm.
and then withdrew her accusation,
Right.
which is very bad for her side of the case. Now, of course, you don't know what will happen in court, whether that evidence will be admitted or not, but in the court of public opinion and what comes out in the media, it's not a good thing for her side.
Is this an it seems to be there's an indictment of sports going on. I mean, there's this whole thing in Congress with you know, baseball players, Barry Bonds using
Right,
steroids and
steroids.
these things, and this kind of thing. It almost seems like there's this impetus to clean up sports.
Yeah, but
and-
let me tell you, if we jump into Barry Bonds, I'll be totally honest with you. America's a very forgiving country.
That's
You
right.
know that. Very forgiving.
Very
All you
true.
have to do is admit to the fact that you did it within maybe a month or 2 months. You'll be forgiven. You can move on with your life. But what America doesn't like is when people lie. You know what I'm saying? Then it's hard to forgive
Or when
him.
they get caught in a lie.
You know, he's just prolonging this whole drama. He know he did it. Everybody knows he did it. Get it over with and, you know, move on. But he wants to be strong and keep his foot forward. No, and deny. You know, like just like when Palmero waved to the Congress and said, no, and what happened? He, you know? So
I think you're very right about that.
He's just got to admit it, and, you know, everybody's been forgiven. Gooden, Strawberry, Marv Albert, everybody.
Kobe Bryant.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody's been forgiven, you know? Everybody forgot about what Marv Albert did, right?
Good one.
If you ask people right now, remember what Marv Albert? I don't remember, because he admitted, he got over it, and that's it, and moved on.
That's right. That's
you know?
very
Good talking
true.
to you guys, man. Good
Great
show.
to
Good
talk
show.
to
Very
you.
much. Very good.
Really
Thank you.
enjoyed your call.
Bye.
All right. Got
And
another
again,
one.
our phone number is on the screen. It's 212-757-1538. We're hoping our guest gets here in time.
We have his chair ready.
We have his chair warm here, ready to go. But in the meantime, it's up to you. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll give it a shot and give you our opinions on
And it's
it.
wonderful to talk to you.
You're on.
Hello?
Hi, it's me again.
Okay,
Go
hi.
ahead.
First of all, I heard your guy talk about it. America's a forgiving country.
Being
To
a
some degree,
forgiving
that's
country.
true. To some degree, that's not. Because we still haven't forgiven Bill Clinton for just having sex in the Oval Office.
Oh, you don't think people
We
are
haven't
forgiven?
forgiven a president who talked about weapons of mass destruction.
I think.
I thought we forgave Clinton,
we
though.
forgave Clinton. Bush still
No,
has to run.
We
for a little
have,
bit to
but
go.
you live in a city that is very forgiving. The rest of the country, I would beg to differ.
Oh, really? Maybe you're right.
Well, there's certain things that they expect, as I think as the last caller was saying, they expect you not to get caught in a lie.
Well, you know, I would
Well, I
figure
can hear
weapons of
your
mass destruction.
TV
would-
feeding
Yeah,
back,
if you want
hon.
to turn down your TV a little bit, it's feeding back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's
All right,
okay.
That's fine.
Well, I also want to say this. You know, we got to be careful because I'm taking a big risk now that the president can trace my phone call. I really don't have
gonna
the
know you were
freedom of
calling
speech
us.
that I
Yeah,
used to
they'll be
have.
able to trace
My
it back.
Constitution is
The
gone.
pattern, they'll
The
see the pattern
Patriot
through
Act
the
might
phone
kick
as well.
my butt for saying the things that I'm saying on the line.
What do you think about that? Do you feel that? I mean, a lot of people feel that it's not that terrible of a thing what Bush did. That it was necessary.
Okay, well, I don't really want to talk about George Bush, but I'll tell you this.
That's the thing. I think his
He's had a
personality
good
makes
number of years to get this guy for justice.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of sad that this person is running around the world, hiding in caves, and hasn't been caught. I think that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another
yeah, some
thing,
of them.
I heard his speech last night about the immigration bill.
Right.
How he wants to use the National Guard to patrol the border.
Well,
Well, couldn't we
temporarily.
use the
right?
National Guard to do New Orleans and help those people out in New Orleans? I mean, we talk about New Orleans. New Orleans, what happened in New Orleans was horrible.
Well, you know, that's my hometown.
Well, I'm so sorry that your hometown had that hurricane, that natural disaster.
Yeah, it was very devastating for all of us from New Orleans because we tried to get in touch with our relatives, and many people we didn't talk to for more than a month because
That's
they didn't
terrible.
have phone service. They were just struggling to survive and didn't have time to go look up our phone numbers and call us. And
I just wish the president took that strong a line as he's taking on immigration as he would have on Katrina. That's all.
We'll get another call coming in. Let's give it a
all
try.
right,
Thank you,
great
caller.
talking to you.
Okay, and that's our number is 212-757-1538. And this is Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DeRienzo.
And even though our guest hasn't
Miss
shown
Joan
up,
Moossy.
I miss Joan Moossy.
We're having
yes.
fun with you.
We're
and
still having a great
inviting
time.
you to call us.
And we love talking to you.
757-1538. We're ready to discuss any issue that you'd like to talk about, whether it be social, arts, politics, you name it. We have fun doing that and give you an opportunity to speak about what's on your mind. There's so many things happening. Talk a little bit, Joanie. You have this visceral connection to New Orleans, having been born there,
That's
and
right.
having had family members who were impacted, not just in New Orleans, but in Mississippi as well. And maybe
Well,
you could
that's
tell
right.
folks a little bit about how your family dealt with this
Well, I'd
crisis,
say that my
this tragedy.
family pretty much spanned the whole spectrum of being affected by Katrina. And by that I mean that Some people were very, very lucky, were in a like eye of the storm and had minimal damage, and other people lost their homes completely, and everything in between. Now for us up north, the hardest thing, as I was saying to the caller, was the communications, just the absolute terror of where everybody was and how they were doing and whether they made it and where they made it to and whether they needed us. And it was just a very difficult time emotionally. And of course, I was supposed to be going down to New Orleans just after Katrina hit. So my trip, I was taking Daddy, and Daddy and I were not able to go because of Katrina, obviously. And we spent the next month just looking. I mean, we used the internet, calling people's phones over and over again. And
some folks you had a hard time getting in touch with. It took a long time.
Oh, a very long time.
It's very frightening.
Very upsetting, yes. Very difficult. And to watch what was happening on television, of course, was devastating, especially if you know the city well and you know what it looked like before, and now here it is just completely submerged. I mean, it was a very difficult thing to go through. But the thing that's really important to remember now is that for the people down there, it is not over. This is not something in the past, but an ongoing situation that they're continuing to deal with every single day. And this is people who are spread all over the country, who are displaced, people whose businesses have been ruined, whose homes have been ruined, and this has not all been fixed.
What do you think of the way the mayor has been handling it in this upcoming election?
Mayor Nagin, you mean?
Yeah, and the upcoming election, how that's turned out.
Well, I mean, the election was not expected to go that way. Everyone was saying he was going to get knocked out because of what happened, but I think that, again, people are forgiving. Everybody saw that it was an almost impossible situation, and of course mistakes were made, but I think that they saw Nagin as somebody who was sincere and tried to do his best, and that's why they're giving him another chance in terms, is there going to be a runoff, of course, but he's not out of it completely.
Right.
So.
Do you think New Orleans, that the government's response to helping the people there was colored by the situation as far as the economic, that it's a poor city, that it's a largely African-American city, that it's a city sort of in many ways that's been forgotten about by the rest of the country?
Well, of course, when you ask that question, the first thing that I think of is our very first guest on the show, Eitan.
Eitan, right.
Who is an urban survivalist and who gave us a wonderful show about being prepared for disasters. And his response to your question would be, I learned this from Eitan,
right.
You can't count on the government in a disaster to help you.
Right.
You cannot count on the fact that they are going to get there. And of course this was vividly illustrated by Katrina. And the other thing I would respond is that people across the board faced the devastation. That's in every class, every race, every economic strata, every ethnic background in that city were affected. And you always hope that any kind of challenge like this is an opportunity for unity, an opportunity to rise above differences, and an opportunity to come together and do it better the next time, to help one another. And that's what I hope for New Orleans, is a bright future. I know it's a difficult challenge ahead, but I hope that everybody who wants to go back to New Orleans is able to do so. And I hope that people visit New Orleans. It is a wonderful, beautiful place to go, and I love it there. Of course, everybody's attached to the place where they were born. But New Orleans is a very, very special city.
Anybody want to join in the conversation? 212-757-1538. We'll take your calls.
And we've certainly enjoyed the calls so far.
So far, yeah. Thank you very much for those. And talk a little bit about this show. Let them talk. A little bit of history. We did this program as a radio show for a number of years. Joanie and I together from 1997 until 2002. And I had been doing it starting back in the early 1990s, 91, 92. on a radio station here in town, and then it was a 3-hour late night anything goes talk show, and we're in a more constrained, it's a different medium, television, and we have to provide our information in a more in a half-hour format where it's where we don't really have the time to go on and on and on about all the different issues. To give you,
of course, we're going on and on tonight, but
right, to give you an opportunity to call or to go on as much as we would like. However, we want to open up the phones and open up the TV to you, the viewer, as much as we can in our upcoming shows. We want you really all to participate and to be part of that. We have a lot of interesting shows.
So call us up, 212-757-1538.
It's really going to be about you, the caller. It's going to be about your participation is really going to make this show work. And I think that that'll be a wonderful thing.
Because we love to hear your point of view.
Yeah. I think that's the... New York, here in New York, there's so many media outlets, but so few places really that allow a free discourse and a free discussion, and we want.
And there's so many interesting people in New York City.
Yeah, and in Manhattan, referring to we're covering Manhattan, and folks can see us on the internet everywhere else. In a lot of ways, we've been focusing on Manhattan folks and characters. And we'll be spreading out, but there's so much here in New York, and there's so much to be learned and to be experienced. And we want to be sort of that connection to you, the listeners, you, the viewers, and all these things, all these interesting people. We want to be a way of connecting you so that there can be a dialogue and a discussion, as well as just us talking to you. So that's going to be basically the mission. If there is a mission, that's the mission, to let them talk, as I see it. And particularly in this era of very scary times, this era of war and obviously...
Well, I want to say one thing. When we did the radio show that I really loved was that very often callers would recommend books that they'd read. And I'm a bookworm from way back. I love to read. And so if you're reading anything interesting, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. Well, we got half a minute. Anything you want to add before we go?
Just thanks for all the calls. Keep them coming. We really enjoyed just hanging out with you tonight. Sorry about our guests, but hey, we got a chance to get to know you a little bit,
Which
and
is
I
great.
really enjoyed it.
That would turn out to be a great thing in itself. And I'd like to thank you again very much for participating with Let Them Talk. And we'll be here next Tuesday at the same time at 8 p.m. And
see you next week.
We'll see you next week.